All right, welcome back to the PCC podcast. I am so excited that you are here for this episode because we are going to be talking about goal setting for 2026. And we are going to set goals differently this year, not like we've set them in the past. And we're going to really set them up in a way that helps us make an impact on our life in 2026. I talked to a lot of women in my DMs about their goals and what's holding them back from getting there. And we're honestly just thinking about our goals all wrong. Like we're thinking about pounds, calories, steps, workouts, when we really should be thinking about identity, habits, behavior, and who we're becoming. And I know you probably are thinking, is this going to be another podcast that talks you through SMART goals? No, this is going to go so much deeper than that. And you're going to feel more connected and aligned with the version of yourself that you want to become than you ever have been. So for this podcast, if you are not driving, grab a pen and paper, like actually sit down. Don't listen to this at 2x speed, like set the mood and listen to this and workshop with me. By the end of this episode, you should know exactly how to become the best version of you by this time next year. So I wrote this out into, I believe, five steps here of becoming the ideal version of yourself and how to actually game plan that. And I came up with this. This is straight out of my brain. I just was like, let's just see. Obviously, it's inspired. It has inspiration from people that have mentored me and that I've worked with in the past, but I didn't, take one method that someone took and just regurgitated it here. Like I kind of just took all the things that I've learned and put this into a sequence that I think would make sense. So I'm excited to see who this can impact. So step one, we're going to ask ourselves, who is the ideal version of you? So think in your current reality, right? If no external circumstances change. What I mean by that is if you're not in a job that you love and you want that to change, and oftentimes you think, once I get a better job, it'll be better. No, in your current reality, if nothing else changed and only you did, how would that version of you handle life differently than you do right now? Please do go deeper than the surface. You have to get extremely granular about this to understand truly who is that person. Not only, oh, how many pounds do they weigh and what do they look like? I want you to do all the physical, right? Because if you have a body weight goal, if you have a fitness goal, like this is important. So she's able to, like I might say, she's able to run a marathon. She is, ideally this percent body fat, even though body fat percentages are totally like just arbitrary. No one really knows what the actual body fat percentages are. But whatever you think in your mind, right? This many pounds, this pant size, feels this way in clothes, looks this way. Maybe you have an example person that you're aiming for physique wise. It's like has this kind of body type physique that obviously again you have to change within what's realistic. So like if you're thinking this person is 6'2" and you're 5'6", please don't say that, right? You can't, if you're an adult, you're not going to be growing an extra 6 inches here. But specify. This is very important. This is the only thing I will say out of this whole like SMART goals thing is you have to be extremely specific, because to the point where it scares you, to the point where you like think to yourself and you're like, man, like, can I actually get there? Because like I'm really fleshing out every single thing about this person, not only the physicality, but how does this person carry themselves? How does this person think in the same situations that you went through this week? So this week, something came up at work and you got busy and you skipped the gym. How does that version of you actually handle that instead, right? You got stressed out, so you ended up eating too many handfuls, too much of the chips that were in the pantry. So how does the best version of you handle that? How do they manage stress? How do they talk themselves off the ledge? How do they get themselves motivated? Get really, really granular here. You should spend the most time on this first step. So if you are listening and workshopping, I want you to pause this and answer all of these questions, the tangible, the intangible, the thought processes, and the person that this person is inside and out. All right, from there, we are going to identify the gap. So this should be pretty obvious at this point because you will see yourself in the mirror and you will have identified some differences between yourself right now and how the ideal version of you operates. And you're going to be able to start to see a gap forming of there are character traits, skills, beliefs, that you will need to sharpen, revisit, or maybe even acquire in order to become this version of yourself, right? And so the gap is not necessarily just this person is 150 pounds and I am 200 pounds. The gap is the skills, the character traits, and the beliefs that differentiate you two. Because at the end of the day, if I snapped my fingers and you need to lose 50 pounds and you lost them immediately, ask yourself this question: would you have the skill set, the character traits, the beliefs underneath in order to maintain that? Or would you still be the person that you are right now and rewind and get back to where you were and gain all the weight back? The reality is that it's most likely the latter almost 100% of the time. This is why people who win the lottery blow all their money, is because they never gained the character traits, skills, and beliefs that they needed to manage and steward that money well, right? And so this is where we want to get really specific. And I want you to list out on your piece of paper character traits, skills, and beliefs. And write down what are those things specifically that the ideal version of you has that you want to acquire, right? Now, step 3 is measuring and rating yourself. So rather than saying you have it or you don't, because character traits, skills, and beliefs are all kind of things that operate on a spectrum. So like, it's not that you do or you don't have it entirely. It's that you have very little or you have a lot or something in between, right? And so we need to measure. So for each of these character traits, skills, and beliefs, you're going to write down 1 to 10, with 1 being closest to the opposite of the good trait and 10 being closest to the ideal trait. So actually, I missed a step. Rewind. In step 2, sorry about that, guys. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. Next to the character traits, skills, and beliefs, you're going to write the opposite across the page. So I'm actually going to pull up mine because I did this exercise and I think that will help put some tangibility. Here it is. Yes, this will put some tangibility to the version of myself that I want to become and help you guys visualize this. So I wrote that the ideal version of Marissa is abundant. She weighs about 130 pounds. She is calm. She is collected. She is in control of her emotions and her reactions, especially in situations that tend to trigger her around certain topics that I did write specifically that I'm not going to, air out my dirty laundry here. She is a strong leader who holds people accountable and isn't afraid to have hard conversations. She has time freedom and spends ample time on herself. She works 20 to 30 hours a week. Her business is something that she's on fire for more than ever because it's hers. And she relies on God for provision, wisdom, and discernment. She runs and lifts regularly 4 to 6 times per week and pursues big goals. She follows through. So this is kind of the abbreviated version of my ideal version of myself. I do have, another page that I elaborated on every single one of these. Basically, you can write a little paragraph like that. And then for every single sentence, go deeper. It's like, okay, she is in control of her emotions and her reactions. In what situation specifically? What came up this week that that person would handle differently? What about the same, right? So with that being said, now I've got my skills, character traits, and beliefs. So I wrote down a bunch of things next to, basically on the left side of my page, I wrote down all the things that are skills, character traits, and beliefs of this person. I wrote follow through, abundance, calm, regulated, holds standards for herself and others, vision, faith, and ambition. And next to each of them, I wrote which one they are. Are they a skill? Are they a belief? Are they a character trait? So follow through, I believe, is a skill. Abundance is a belief that success is all around, that I can access any of it, right? Calm is a trait. I might change that, actually. Calm is a state. Regulated is a skill. Being able to regulate yourself is a skill. Hold standards for herself and others is a skill. Vision is a belief. Faith is belief. And ambition is a trait. So with that being said, Then on the other side of the page, on the right side of the page, I wrote, what are the opposites of these things? So follow through, the opposite is unreliable, right? Abundance, the opposite is scarcity. Calm, the opposite is frantic. Regulated, opposite is dysregulated, of course. Hold standards, opposite is doormat or complacent. Having a vision, the opposite is short-sighted. Having faith, the opposite is skeptical or maybe pessimistic, right? Ambition, the opposite is small thinking. Now, because I have these on the left side of my page and the right side of my page, I'm now in the middle writing my ranking between each of these 1 to 10, with 1 being the closest to the opposite of the good trait. So if I say 1, it means I am more scarce than abundant, right? If I put 10, it means I am completely abundant and not scarce, right? And so every single one in the middle, you're going to rate 1 to 10. So for follow through, I put 7. Abundance, I put 4. I would say, as I'm recording this, it's probably moved up to a 6 already. Maybe 6 or 7. Calm, I put 8, so I'm closer to calm. Regulated, I would say 7. Hold standards for herself and others, I put 7. Vision versus short-sighted, I put 5, so right in the middle. Faith versus skeptical, I put 6. And ambition versus small thinking, I put 4. I would say that has also grown just since I drafted this podcast episode a couple weeks ago, which is pretty cool, which shows that this game planning really works, huh? So then we know what are our, perceptions of ourselves, of how far are we from the version of ourselves that we want to become, right? The whole purpose of this is we identify the skills, character traits, and beliefs of the person we want to become. And what are the things that we're weakest at for that version of ourselves, right? And my lowest ones were abundance, vision, and ambition. So remember your lowest hanging fruit, say top 3 worst rated traits, character traits, beliefs, and skills, right? And it's likely, right, the stuff that you've come up with at this point is not super hyper tangible. It might feel very abstract. So step 4 is now asking yourself, what are situations and habits that could expose these character traits, beliefs, and skills? So I believe I wrote the rest of mine actually now on my Google Doc. So for example, situations that would expose ambition or the lack thereof would be avoiding goal setting and planning, avoiding saying goals out loud to avoid the feeling of failing at it. Situations that would expose vision or the lack thereof are my team meetings, where I cast the vision for my team, the failure to innovate on the vision, the failure to spend time in deep work, which is where the vision actually comes to life, right? Situations that would expose abundance or scarcity is choosing to continue tithing, something that my husband and I do with our take-home income. Paying for someone's groceries, how I handle people's objections or rejections on our enrollment calls, right? Am I taking it personally or am I really helping them overcome, patterns of thinking that aren't serving them? Leaving space for others to have their own financial ambitions within my own, right? So for example, having growth paths for my employees that show that they can up-level their income as well, right? Upgrading my closet and my self-care. So that's something that would expose abundance versus scarcity, right? Not taking time or space to help myself. And then not taking time away from the business to serve or go on vacation, some things that I want to do next year. And if I didn't do that, it would show that I'm scarce, right? I have to keep working. If I don't keep working, it's all going to go away. So from those things, right? So I basically am listing out situations that would expose, insert, bottom 3 character traits, skills, beliefs. From that, now we have some tangible situations that we can work on, right? That we see that are probably our weak spots. So our 3, 6, and 12-month goals from all of this, I have some goals written down. So this is step 5, is list this out. So under abundance, I have continue tithing, taking my Korea trip, serving for at least 7 days next year, like volunteering and going somewhere to actually volunteer my time with the church, setting growth paths for my team, leaning into sales trainings, taking care of my skincare in my closet. For vision, deep work to plan team meetings and innovate the vision, and time spent writing in my own voice, not letting ChatGPT help me, but writing. And ambition, setting goals that scare me, that are also anchored in integrity, right? At this point, where in my journey, setting a money related goal would be rooted in scarcity because I have so much proof that our business will be fine, our income will be fine, because God has provided that for us, even in the highs and lows of everything that we've gone through. So setting goals around client experience and vision and what we want to do in terms of impact. So those are the big hitters. So from there, I wrote 3, 6, and 12-month goals from that. So here's my example for you. In 3 months, I want to block deep work at least 90 minutes twice per week and stick to it, spent on vision, writing, innovation, sales training, and leadership. Skincare, nail this down, keep doing it. Set growth paths for the team in the new year. So just sit down, do annual reviews, and give people a vision for themselves. Set personal goals for the business, something tied to client success, retention, or community. We've actually already started this, which has been really cool. We've just been leveling up our client experience, but that's just an example, right? 6 months, run a marathon or be deep in marathon training. Begin overhauling my wardrobe slowly. And then invest in a certification for my assistant coach, Rachel, and I, and take it together. And then 12 months is have taken a full 2 to 3 week vacation and served for 1 week, totaling a minimum of 3 weeks off in the year. I have not done that ever since I became an adult. So yeah, that's a goal. And have had the most successful year in business in terms of culture, impact, enjoyability. So those are some goals that I set from this process that we went through. And so again, step 1, who is the ideal version of you in your current reality? Deeper than the surface. Spend the most time here. Step 2, identify the gap, the character traits, skills, and beliefs that you need to sharpen, revisit, or acquire to become that version of you. Next to the character traits on the opposite side of the page, write the opposite of each of them. Then measure yourself. Step 3, 1 to 10, what are you closest to? Step 4, identify your bottom 3 lowest hanging fruit, worst rated character traits, skills, and beliefs. Ask yourself, what are situations that could expose this? Step 5, what are your 3, 6, and 12-month goals from those situations that you can set? And work on the actual situations in your life that will help create these character traits, skills, and beliefs for you. From there, block them into 3, 6, and 12-month goals from that overarching view. From there, you have your goals, right? Now, of course, yours are going to probably look a little bit different. Mine are very purpose and work driven because I'm an entrepreneur. But I do still, I think in all of that, want to be locking in with my fitness and health habits to continue becoming the fittest version of myself while I do all of that. So this is where you can refine. Step 6 implicitly, right, is to refine anything that needs refining here, right? Make any tweaks that you need to make sure that this covers all the goals that you have. But now you have real goals, real situations that you're going to be working through on a day-by-day basis that are actually relevant to the person that you're becoming. And that's the person that loses the weight and keeps it off, not the person that says, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year by tracking my macros and my steps. This is the way forward. So let me know if you did this exercise, how it went for you. I would love to hear what you got from it and anything that was surprising for you. And thank you so much for listening. I'll keep this one short, just a tutorial and workshop. And I hope that you guys enjoy and Happy New Year. And I hope you have an amazing 2026.